Hi everyone, my name is Mark Deere, and in this video I want to talk about movies. I just want to talk about how I love movies. Making movies, amazing. Watching movies, amazing. In my last video I talked about Philippe Petit and the movie The Walk, and that was probably the best movie I saw this year. But so many movies, I watched so many movies this year. Well, it would be probably close to 400 movies this year. And you know, the good movies, the bad movies, always amazing, always inspiring. Even when they're not great, they kind of compel you to want to make something yourself. I've loved making movies now. I first discovered movie making, I guess, probably in my first year of uni, but I've had a camera put in my hands. I have older cousins, and so, you know, the video camera would always be put in my hand from about, I think the youngest thing I filmed, I was probably 3 or 4 years old. But the first wedding that I filmed, I think I was 8 years old. And I filmed another one when I was 10 years old. So, you know, I have that footage. I don't know, I probably won't edit it into this video, but it'll probably get into my documentary that I'm working on, Confessions of a Failed Filmmaker. But yeah, I just love movies. And it's funny, Joel Haver, he has a spin-off channel called Joel Haver Talks About Movies. And in that, he kind of talks about the making of his movies, and he talks about when he's watched movies, how he loves them. And I also talk about when being a film teacher, because I was a film teacher for the last 10 years, and for 11 years before that I used to work in film. But yeah, the last 10 years I always say to my students on the first day, like, look, you know, in other classes you'll probably, you know, you think about writing in your book, you think about, you know, doing work and assignments and stuff. But there's basically 2 things we're going to do in this class. That's talk about movies, or watch movies, and make movies. Watching movies, making movies. That's what we're going to do. And both things are so fun to do. It's fun to watch movies. It's fun to talk about movies with your friends. Maybe I'm just the generation, like, I guess we're like a redux generation, you know, because the original generation is like Woody Allen when he was a kid, and Mel Brooks when he was a kid, like when they used to be able to go to I guess it was like a matinee, you know, they'd go to a theater and they'd see a show and they'd see performers and they'd see a short film and they'd see 2 features, you know, that was what they did. And then, you know, the format's changed over the years, but my generation became really into movies because it's the era of megaplexes. In the early 90s, like I saw Jurassic Park at the movies. I remember seeing Aladdin, The Lion King, and all these movies at the movies. You know, every kind of American summer, we'd be in Brisbane on holidays, and so we'd get to go to the movies one day, you know. And I vividly remember seeing Jurassic Park at the movies, and I vividly remember those early Disney films, well, the Renaissance Disney films, you know. Yeah, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, back to back. We saw them every year. Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin. We saw The Lion King, Pocahontas. I think we even saw Hunchback of Notre Dame as it went on, but I obviously got a bit older then. But and then as I was a teenager, we went to the movies so much. And in the town I grew up, Maryborough, there was a cinema there. And it's funny because I'm not far away. I can see it with my eyeballs now from the school that my kids went to in this town. And one of the mums of a kid in my youngest daughter Elisa's class, her parents owned that theater. We found out, like back in the day, it was called the Heritage Cinemas. And you used to be able to go to see a movie for $1. And I remember I saw a lot of movies there, but the most vivid movie I saw there was actually called First Wives Club. It had Bette Midler and a bunch of other people. And I always used to say that it was the worst movie experience of my life because it was so boring and it was for old people. And I mean, I would have been like 15 or 16 when that movie came out, maybe 17. No, I'd say 15 or so. When that movie came out, I'd have to look it up. But, you know, we didn't even watch it. We just messed around because we only paid $1. So we didn't care if we saw the movie or not. It was just going to the movies with your friends was amazing. And so, yeah, it was really probably more at university. In my first year of university, when I got to make films, it's funny, my first year of university, we only analysed films, which I didn't really like. I was originally in a film degree, like an arts film degree, and then I switched to a multimedia degree, which was more a mix of software engineering and, you know, like computer stuff mixed with film stuff. So it's called multimedia, and so you could major in like animation and digital film, and you could major in programming sort of thing. So it was all kind of put together. We learned like web programming and stuff as well as filmmaking and animation. But it was obviously separate from the traditional film analysis and media studies. This is probably why I never liked that, because that first year was just so pretentious. Whereas in my second year of university, but my first year of when I changed degrees, it was amazing. You know, we just watched, you know, we just made movies. We made movies. We didn't watch them like in the first year and like, I don't know. It's funny talking about movies. I like movies for entertainment. I like, you know, talking about movies with my friends. I don't feel like you need to go too in depth. I also like analysing movies for making movies purposes. So like I could go extremely in depth just looking at one shot or one sequence of a film to help me figure out how do they do that? Why are they doing that? And I guess media studies is just an extension of that, but rather than having a view to how it can help you make something, it's having a view to understanding the meaning the filmmaker was trying to create, whether they were intentionally doing it or not. But yeah, I love talking about movies. I love watching movies. I love making movies. If you've never made a movie, this is something I'm going to do in 2026. I'm going to try to help as many people as I can learn how to make movies. And this includes families. I'm excited about getting families making movies together because one of the richest experiences in my life has been making movies with my kids. And I want to ramp that up as well next year. That's why I'm going to do short films rather than features, because expecting my kids to all act in a feature film is probably crazy, but putting my kids in little things we make that go for a couple of minutes each is just a fun experience, you know, and that's what I want it to be, just a fun experience. So yeah, making movies, man, it's the best. And it's funny, a lot of the people watching my channel are past students of mine. And if you've been a student of mine, then hopefully you have more of an appreciation for watching movies and making movies. And if you know that that's what I taught, but you never actually got to be taught by me, well, next year's the year to be watching, because I'm gonna try to take what I did in the classroom for 10 years and convert it into, you know, something that can be shared with anybody. So I'm really, really excited for 2026. And honestly, I'm just excited for every day, because every day there's movies to be watched. When I left the house, me and Sonny had started watching Jurassic World Rebirth. We saw it at the cinemas the day it came out this year, but he got it for Christmas on Blu-ray. So we started watching it yesterday, and I was excited about finishing with him. And I asked him if he had finished it yesterday while I was watching movies. He was like, nope. And I was like, oh. So I'm very excited because I'll get to go watch that with him, and then I'll probably watch some other movie today as well. Last night I saw the premiere of the new SpongeBob movie called The Search for SquarePants, I think. The SpongeBob movie Search for SquarePants, yeah. And it was good, you know. It was no the original SpongeBob SquarePants movie, but it was a cut above the last couple they've made. So I did enjoy it just because it was fun, you know. It got me to laugh. And that's the beautiful thing. Movies don't need to be pretentious. Anybody can enjoy a movie. The most amazing thing about movies is that it's just the perfect amount of time for a lesson, like a feature-length movie. Short films usually just fun. It's like a joke. You know, you sit around the table, someone tells you a joke, you have a laugh or you don't, but it's short, it doesn't matter. So short films, great. Feature films are the greatest, the greatest. I love movies. And it's funny, I talk about Joel Haver's channel, he always finishes, on that channel, he always signs off with, I love movies. And he's right, you know, it always makes me smile because you get the bug, you know, and you just want to make things. And I'm very excited for 2026 because my 2026 will be filled with making films. It's going to be great. And I hope yours will be too, or I hope at least in 2026 you make your first film. So yeah, for now I'm going to sign off, but yeah, you'll hear me say it again and again, but I realized I hadn't done a dedicated movie about loving movies. So this was it. And I'm sure there'll be more in the future, but great talking to everyone today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, go watch a movie. If you haven't watched a movie today, if you haven't watched a movie recently, go watch one. Like watch one at home on a streaming service, or go to the movies and see it. You can watch something on your phone. Movies are the greatest. I have so many I could recommend you, but I won't recommend one now because I'd be here all day. Maybe I'll do one about my favorite movies, but that's a video for another day. Okay, thanks everyone. Great talking to you today, and I will see you in the next video.